Hi there, welcome to BNC's special interview. I'm Mikal Raj, your host. Today we talk to Rebecca Taylor, Chief Executive Officer of the University of Southampton, Malaysia. Rebecca, welcome to the studio for BNC. And I like to say that University of Southampton has a global reputation for engineering education in a research-led environment. And I understand it's the top 100 global university and a founding member of the Russell Group. And a few years ago, I think the university set up a foreign branch campus in Johor. So, and the question is, how did all these accolades come about exactly? What is the Russell Group and the top global 100? And a lot more about what the University of Southampton Malaysia is all about.
Sure. Okay, thank you, and thanks for having me. Yeah. You're absolutely right. The University of Southampton is in the global top 100, and we're very, very proud of that. And we're known for a number of different disciplines, one of them being engineering. And the Russell Group, as you mentioned, is a group of the 24 leading universities in the UK, leading in terms of world-leading research and leading in terms of excellence in teaching. And so it's that sort of combination that helps to put them and place them in that top 100. It was probably in about 2010 that the Malaysian government invited a number of universities to think about setting up a branch campus in Malaysia. And Southampton was very honored to be thought of and invited as one of those. And they have had a relationship with Malaysia over actually quite a long period, about 50 years. And that's in terms of bits of research and bits of teaching. But actually, this was a way to formalize that relationship and to take up the invitation and to establish a branch campus. That's sort of from the Malaysian perspective. From the Southampton perspective as well, one of their core principles is internationalization. It's about taking that incredibly high quality education, that real expertise around, in this case, engineering, because that's what we're focused on here, and actually having a branch campus that delivers that education closer to home, so here in Malaysia, closer to home. And so they took up the invitation and in 2012 established the University of Southampton, Malaysia. It is engineering specific. When they invited universities in, it's a natural thing to have them focused on specific discipline areas. And with Southampton's expertise in engineering, that was the area that it was focused on. And so as I said, they established in 2012, specifically around engineering. And through the last 5 to 6 years, they have put on additional programs and grown that engineering portfolio.
I think the government's intention was for university to produce more engineers to cater for the Malaysia's growing industrial sector. Tell me about Southampton University in the UK. How many students do you have there? How many students do you have here? And what are your growth projections, you know?
Sure. In the University of Southampton, UK, they have 24,800 students at the moment, and that's across a whole variety of disciplines. And at the University of Southampton, Malaysia, we currently have about 250 students. That's grown through the establishment of the branch campus, and the projections going forward are that we will grow that. We will grow that in terms of student numbers within our engineering programs, but we are also looking around our growth prospects to expand our portfolio. And that means add additional engineering programs into the portfolio, but also expand across disciplines as well.
But then, I want to know, the 24,000 students in the UK, are they, of course, mostly they're from Britain, but are there a sizable number of foreigners who come and study there?
Absolutely. So there are a number of international students who go and study in Southampton, and interestingly, many from Malaysia. And they go and they do the full degree in Southampton. Having a branch campus in Malaysia gives another option. And actually, it's a particularly interesting option because we run our engineering programs on a 2+2 program.
I see.
So that means the students come into the program and they do 2 years with us in Malaysia. It's quite a small campus at the moment. It's a very intimate feel, low staff-student ratio, and they get a very, very intensive learning experience. They then, after the second year, they transition and they do the second 2 years of their degree in Southampton, and that's with the bigger cohorts, but also lab equipment and specialisms in engineering that help them to identify exactly what aspect of engineering they want to pursue and then to develop that.
So basically it's twinning, you're talking about twinning and all that. The question is, when they do the twinning in Southampton, is there a chance for them to be sort of attached to companies there, industries there for some specific period to get some hands-on experience how the industry works?
Yeah, so in fact that's possible in both places in studying. So just to give a little bit more of an idea of what we do here and what we do there, and then to talk about the industry connections. In 2012, when we were established, we had one program, and it was the MEng, or the Masters in Engineering in Mechanical Engineering. Then a year later, we added electrical and electronic engineering, and then 2 years after that we actually added a foundation year, which is a very interesting route in foundation year, and then our third engineering program. And the thing about the foundation year is that it's a very general year, and so it allows the student to really understand engineering more broadly and then to choose what specialism they want to go into. When they then transition to the UK after that 2 or 3 years, there's actually additional specialism, so they can become specialized even within their area of engineering, and so it allows them to do that. There are very, very strong industry connections for students in the UK, and so there's opportunities to do projects and get experience. But actually here in Malaysia as well, even though we're a smaller operation, we have strong industry links, and those are going to be developed further over the coming years, and that gives them a chance to really bring the practitioner and the academic experience together.
Two things. Why did University of Southampton choose Iskandar Puteri for its location, and why did you choose engineering as the main course offering in Malaysia?
So in terms of the location of the campus, the Malaysian government saw Johor as an area that it wanted to develop further, and in the middle of that it wanted to have a strong educational hub. So we are located on EduCity, and that is a collection of universities that have been invited to participate in that sort of hub concept. So there's us, there's Reading University, there's Newcastle University, there's Raffles. So there's a number of universities that are locating there.
So while engineering is here, in Southampton is a leading university for many subjects such as computer science, earth and marine sciences, nursing, physics, philosophy, and even film studies. Nursing was very popular in those days, where we had to send all our students to the UK. See? So is there a possibility that one day maybe Southampton will offer nursing locally, and maybe they can twin later in the UK?
So anything's possible.
Okay.
As I said, when the sort of concept of an education hub was developed, it's right that each of the universities that was invited in focused specifically on a particular discipline. And so ours was engineering, and that made sense. Malaysia is really looking to develop engineers. They need them for their growth plans in the coming years. Just to give in terms of the sort of size of that, I believe that the vision for 2020 was to have 200,000 engineers in Malaysia. Last year or the year before, they gauged that they had about 70,000. So there's still a big gap to fill, and Southampton absolutely has a place in filling that. But actually, as we move forward and we look forward and we grow the portfolio and we look strategically about what Southampton can really contribute to the sort of broader priorities of the Malaysian government, actually we need to look also at expanding our disciplines and adding new things in. And so what we're doing now is we're looking at what are the areas that actually maybe a twinning arrangement, or even doing a full 4-year degree in Malaysia, but as a Southampton degree, what disciplines would that best suit, and what is the real need in Malaysia? And we're just doing that assessment now.
So you all are still growing, you know?
We are growing.
So in terms of technology and staff mobility, how does the university remain innovative while reaching a much larger volume of students with fewer resources, you know?
One of the most important things about being innovative is actually having that research base. So the academics who are teaching the students, they are themselves conducting world-leading research. And that world-leading research feeds directly into their teaching materials and means that the students are learning from people who are innovating themselves, but are also learning how to innovate. The other thing I would say that makes Southampton add particular value to a student's learning experience is that it's a combination of learning sort of theoretical material, theoretical concepts, and actually the practical side of engineering. So it's applying that through projects, through team, different sort of team experiences, and actually the connection with industry allows them to think about engineering and to practice engineering that they're learning, and it brings it to life, and it helps them to really understand how they can put those skills to good use. So it feeds directly into employability.
But in a more competitive environment, because Malaysia is very competitive because there are more than 100 private universities and many of them are foreign, how does the university emphasize its distinctiveness and maintain a clear institutional identity?
Again, it's about acknowledging that Southampton itself is in the global top 100 of universities. It is a leading university. In our case here in Malaysia, it is a leading university in engineering. It's leading in many other disciplines, but here we're focused on engineering. And it's about looking at the sort of theoretical and practical sides of engineering and imparting that to students and having that experience so that they can take it into the world of work and really have enriching careers across a whole breadth of disciplines, actually, at different types, different sectors as well.
Okay, which part of engineering or what kind of engineers is in demand in the market?
So that is interesting as well, all sorts. And actually just because it's a sort of mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or it's a specific kind of engineering doesn't actually limit a student to having a career just in that area. So all sorts of types of engineering are used across different sectors. We have graduates of engineering who are working in product design for companies like Rolls-Royce and GM. We have others, though, who very interesting are working in sort of telecoms industries, things like that. But even more, people might not be aware, they work in industries like banking and insurance, where those banks, insurance companies are looking to make investments or are working with sort of investors, and they need people to assess the risk of those things. And so we have engineers going into those sectors as well.
True, Rebecca. Actually, we need to talk more about the employability of students from this university. But hold your thoughts. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to BNC's special interview. We are talking to Rebecca Taylor, Chief Executive Officer of the University of Southampton, Malaysia. Before we took the break, Rebecca, I mentioned about employability. So the question is, how does the university ensure that its courses and its graduates and its courses enhances the employability of its graduates? Because getting a degree is one thing, getting a job is another. You see, that's very important. So are your courses designed in a way that they are relevant and keep pace with the industry developments and advances?
Yes. So I would say there's sort of three strings to that. The university is absolutely committed to employability, and we have a very, very good record of our students being employable and employed. They are largely employed within 3 months of graduating. So we have a very good record of that, but that's also because we take it very seriously. So in terms of the teaching and the experience that they have through their program, as I said earlier, we put a lot of emphasis on marrying the theoretical material with the practical. And that's because if students learn how to apply their skills, they are much more useful and they're much more employable. And so they're more attractive to employers as a result of that. And employers increasingly increasingly understand that that's how we teach, that's the experience students are having, and so they seek out our graduates. And so that's from the sort of teaching perspective. In terms of supporting them within their program, we have very sophisticated career services at the University of Southampton. So particularly in their 3rd and 4th years of study, they are supported in terms of workshops and presentations about their career skills and developing those skills. We help them very specifically with skills around CV writing, cover letters, interview skills, because those are very important in making sure that they stand out against other candidates. So we very much support them in that way. And we also have a mentoring program, which creates sort of one-to-one support so that students can, they can talk about what they're confident about and what they're less confident about. So that's around the skills. And then the 3rd string of our commitment to employability is our very, very strong links with the professional bodies. And in the University of Southampton Malaysia, those professional bodies are specifically the engineering ones, so IET and IMechE. Those are the sort of some of the engineering bodies that we work with. And one at the root, at the cores of some of these professional bodies are employability skills. And so it's not just about what do you know in engineering, but it's about how do you present those concepts? How do you speak about them? How do you work in teams? How do you communicate effectively? It's all the soft skills that sit around the sort of discipline. And actually that combination of an understanding of your discipline and the development of those soft skills actually really supports students into employment and makes our students very employable.
Okay, you mentioned earlier about the gap, there's a demand for engineering graduates and all that. But as far as the private sector is concerned, are they ready to absorb them? Because although there's a gap, they might not want to absorb them readily, maybe because of cost and things like that. So when they come out, is there a job waiting for them?
Actually, we have found that there's a real demand for engineers in Malaysia. So this is where we're based, and we're looking very much at what is the demand here. And there's very much a demand for engineering. As I said, there's a big gap between the number of engineers that they're looking for and the number that they currently have. So we can certainly help to fill that gap. The other thing is that Malaysia is growing. It's really investing in its infrastructure. It had I believe a 5.9% growth in GDP last year. That may slow a little bit in 2018, but not a lot. And actually, that's all about real investment. And the Malaysian government has also a real priority around skills and productivity. And the sectors that it's most focused on are manufacturing and services. And manufacturing and services, there's engineering roles all across manufacturing and services. So there's a lot of openings, a lot of demand for engineers across the sort of engineering disciplines, and lots of interesting roles that people can do.
Are they in demand by the big companies, the big boys, or also by the small and medium scale enterprises? Because the SMEs form the backbone of the manufacturing sector in Malaysia. Yeah,
well, they absolutely do. And in many countries, SMEs are, the small and medium-sized enterprises are sort of the backbone of a country's growth. And so absolutely, there's demand in both of those. And so students even have a choice as to the sort of size of company that they go into and the type of roles that they take on within those different workplaces.
Yeah, and then you're talking about the graduates. Are there a number of female graduates? Is there a large number of female graduates in UoSM?
So so one of the things that I really also wanted to mention is not just the commitment to employability, but the commitment around engineering to women and promoting women in engineering careers. And one of the reasons that young women often sort of, even though they're really interested in the STEM subjects, they often sort of fall out of it as they move into higher education is often because there aren't a lot of role models for them. And actually role modeling is an incredibly important thing in having diversity and in helping others to pursue their interests right up to that sort of top level. So we at Southampton, they have an absolute commitment to promoting women in STEM subjects, one of those being engineering. We have female academics at the University of Southampton Malaysia, who are fantastic role models, and we have increasingly a number of young women coming to study with us as engineering students. And we have alumni who come back and they support those students, and they too act as role models. So we're doing a lot around, and will increasingly do more, around really encouraging women into engineering and really understanding that they can have a fantastic career in engineering as well.
Potential students who want to come to University of Southampton, I'm sure the first thing that they will consider is the costing. The question that they'll ask is it expensive to come to the University of Southampton?
So what I would say is it's competitively priced within Malaysia, but also one of the reasons why having a campus here, and this being another choice for students, is that actually they can do their degree at about 65% of the cost of going over and doing a full degree in the UK. So they get the UK experience, and with the sort of 2+2 model, which is a fantastic model. They get the experience, but actually for the first 2 years, it's a less expensive option, and then that's combined with their final 2 years in the UK.
Because taking into account the foreign exchange,
absolutely,
and the ringgit is not doing very well, I think that twinning really comes in handy to cut down costs for the entire 4 years, right? I
agree with you. It does cut costs. Again, it's about flexibility. It's another option, but yes, it is a more cost-effective option to do the degree in a sort of twinning model, and also it means that the students have an experience of learning here in Malaysia as well. They're closer to family, trips home are less expensive. So there's a lot of logistical reasons why it makes sense as well. And many families choose a twinning model to be one that works for them.
So unlike many foreign universities in Malaysia, you're one of the very few universities to have a full-fledged campus in Johor. Is that right?
So we do, and as I said, we've gone through in a kind of establishment stage, and now we're looking at growing in terms of portfolio, growing in terms of the footprint of the campus as well, and how do we make sure that actually as we scale up, we can accommodate more students across engineering and a number of disciplines. So we have a fantastic experience for students at the moment, and fantastic lab experiences, and a lot of we do.
Those are the facilities, right?
Oh, we have the facilities, and they have a lot of hands-on practical experience, and so yes, we do have a campus. I think there are 5 UK universities that have campuses in Malaysia, and then of course there are other universities that have other sort of partnership arrangements, but they don't have an actual campus. So, but yes, we do.
Sort of a lodging, I'm sure, because when students come, is there a place that they can stay in the university, in the campus?
Yeah, so one of the benefits of being part of the EduCity, so the sort of investment in an educational hub, is that actually the students interact with students from the other universities in that city, that campus, and also there's accommodation for them, and they do a lot of joint activities. So we have joint sporting activities. They have clubs where they actually engage students from other universities as well as ours. And then there's some clubs that are very campus or university specific. So there's lots of options.
You are a young university, taking into account that you've been here for 7 years. But are there any success stories that you can share? Any of your graduates have done very well in the market and things like that?
So in terms of, just going back to some of the student profiles, so students have done incredibly well studying in the different engineering disciplines, and then going into some really interesting careers. So we've had a lot of success around the employability of our students. As I said, they've gone into sort of product design, telecommunications, banking, insurance, so a real breadth. So we've had real successes around the students gaining really interesting employment. So that's one. In terms of the university itself and helping to deliver against the Malaysian government's priorities, we've secured almost 2 million ringgit worth of research funding in order to do research projects that innovate and actually add value back to the country. So definitely the group is doing very well in that respect. And also on a more sort of personal level to the students, very recently we hosted an Institute of Mechanical Engineering, the professional body, Speak Out for Engineering event, and that drew students from universities across Malaysia. So that was a really nice chance to get them together. That's good for raising the profile of engineering, but also getting more engineers into the field. And we've just had a group of students recently win a most impactful project prize at a hackathon for their innovative app. So there, again, it's that practical side of their learning that we're seeing results.
Rebecca, briefly, I just want to know, what with the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, what kind of impact will it have on the students that are coming, or the engineers, the type of engineers we need to face up to the fourth industrial revolution?
I think what that says is we're at exactly the right time to be expanding our portfolio, both putting in new programs around engineering and also looking at other disciplines, so that we're not just taking care of churning out engineers of the future, but we're taking care of the engineering, their careers throughout their careers, so the breadth of it. So as engineers, they gain more experience in their jobs, then they might go into management roles and they need some management skills, or they might diversify in their area of engineering and they need to upskill. We need to look at how are we taking care of their whole career rather than just the beginning of that career. So it's about us expanding and growing and making sure that we stay close to what the demands of the sort of next stages are, and we make sure that we can help meet those.
Okay, Rebecca Taylor, thank you very much for your time and your insights into the University of Southampton, Malaysia. This has been BNC's special interview. Until the next time, bye for now.